right into building. First item, approval of December 2nd building committee minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 2, facilities update. Mr. Toddy.
Hello.
You're up, David.
All right, I'm back. So facilities update. I'll begin with custodial services. We still have an open position at the middle school, which has been open for a while. We're just not getting any applications for it. It does make it difficult when somebody calls in sick because we're already down a position. And again, like I just mentioned, this is where the grounds guys get pulled out to go cover schools, and they're doing that quite a bit. The grounds crew has been focusing mostly on snow removal. We lost the transmission in one of our small plow trucks. It's out getting fixed right now. Hopefully we'll have it back soon. We were able to bring the JCB into service for snow removal, which we don't typically do, and we're able to get through the storm that way. Not really using the right equipment. We need to get that small truck back online. We also lost the auger in the Kubota snow blower. There was a, as of yet, unidentified piece of steel in a snowbank that we ran into and bent a huge piece of metal, got bent a considerable amount, a big bang went on right there. That is also, we've got parts on order, and we'll get that back online as soon as we can. Maintenance is ongoing work orders, including, changing of fan motors and chasing no heat calls. I'm really happy to report that we've got our first too hot call with the warmer days today and yesterday. We're actually get a couple of too hot calls, which is good for us. It's usually a sign that spring isn't far away. The air quality improvement project, if you'll remember, this is part grant funded and part local dollars. Most of it comes out of grant money, a little bit of it is in local dollars. We're beginning to stock materials in at Spalding High School starting tomorrow, and stay tuned, there'll be much more to follow on that project as we replace the Honeywell control system with a new, more functional control system designed to give us air quality improvement across the district. We received a shipment of PPE from DHHS, including roughly 7,000 N95 masks that we distributed to our nursing staff. The N95s are, they're the little bit higher quality mask, and we're deploying those directly to the nurses who are in the most contact with any kind of problem situations. We also received some wipes and some children's masks to go along with some masks that we still have that we got free from Walmart. So we're in pretty good shape with masks right now, and we've done that mostly at no cost to the district. Band and chorus floors, if you'll remember the swelling on the floor, I told you we were going to make the relief cuts over Christmas break. We did. It looks like we made a relief cut in the floor, and we'll see when the spring comes and the moisture goes up, we'll see what that looks like and see if that worked. We don't really know at this point. Spalding High School CTE exterior joint sealant project is continuing to go on. There was a small issue where Ms. Elliott Foley and Mr. Roy noticed what they thought was an unsafe work condition, and they contacted me. We contacted the contractor, and we got it all squared away almost immediately, and everything's flowing nicely out there now. Maple Street Magnet School, we had a health inspection recently that identified a problem with domestic hot water. This is a problem that's been going on in the building since long before I worked in the district. The problem is many years old. What happens is it takes a long time for hot water to reach the sinks. In the morning you go in, you turn on the water, it's going to run cold for 10 minutes before hot water gets from the boiler room to the sinks. That's the way we've run it since the school was built. But now that we've received a health inspection that cited that as a reason for closure, we have to get on and fix it. Fortunately, we have domestic hot water money available in the CIP budget, and I'm working with A&D Plumbing now to resolve that situation. Tree work. I spoke to you last time we met about some trees that we removed. One at the high school and a couple of them at the magnet school. That's done. And in personnel, I mentioned about the need for the Spalding High School field storage building. We have money in the current CIP bonded lines to replace that building. We have a design from an architect that's been published out in the street. We have a mandatory contractor walkthrough scheduled for Monday. So stay tuned and we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully we'll be able to replace that building and finally be able to stop spending booster dollars on storage containers. Work orders, I'm going to give you 2 months worth of work orders because we didn't meet last month. So this is the period December 2nd through February 3rd. We completed 276 work orders. That's up from 134, but that was the 134 is a 1 month number, 276 is a 2 month number. We created 285 new work orders, up from 109, again, comparing 2 months and 1 month. And our close ratio now stands at 0.97 to 1, which is slightly down from 1.23 to 1. Ratios don't matter how many months we're comparing. We now have open 148 work orders, just slightly up from 138 open work orders the last time we spoke. And you've all heard me say, or most of you have heard me say many times, anything below 200 open work orders, with no need for concern, where that's kind of business as usual. So we're at 148, we're in good shape there. That's all I have for facilities updates, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toddy. Any questions for Mr. Toddy? Go ahead,
Just
Tom.
one. On the equipment building, are we having it in the same location as it was before? Or is it going to be a new location?
No, sir, it's the same location, and it's drawn sitting in it. It might move a foot or two, and it's a little bit bigger, but it's going to go in that same locus adjacent to, we're going to keep the basketball court that's up there now,
Okay.
and it'll stand in front, between the basketball court and Wakefield Street.
Okay. Thank you.
Any
Yes,
other
sir.
questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Toddy. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item would be the Chamberlain Street School Fire Alarm Bid.
So we have some CIP lines available to upgrade fire alarms. And while we have a working fire alarm in Chamberlain Street School, it is no longer up to current code. It doesn't, what it sounds is just a general alarm. So then the fire department arrives, they have to figure out where in the building the problem is. And it's getting to the point where the main panel, it's getting difficult to source parts for it. So if that panel were to go down, we couldn't get parts, that's something that could force a school closure. We're hoping to avoid that. So we advertised a sealed bid. We got a design that we published on the street. We had a contractor walkthrough on January 24th. 6 different contractors attended that walkthrough. They all had questions. We published an addendum to answer all of their questions the next day. And we had a bid opening on the 31st, at which no bidders responded, not a single one of the 6. So I reached out and spoke to the ones I could get through to, and most of their concerns are around COVID. We're trying to bid out a project that's going to happen over the summer. They're going to commit to a price now, and they don't know what the cost of this equipment is going to be over the summer. And some of them aren't even sure that they can get the equipment for the summer at that time frame. So to some of them, the time frame is too long, and to some of them, the time frame is too short. So we have no bidders on that project, but like I said, we have a working alarm now. So my suggestion to the board is we kind of punt on this one, and we wait to rebid it. And as soon as we put COVID a little further in the rearview mirror, hopefully things get a little bit back to normal, we can try rebidding this again in the future.
Okay.
One
Tom?
question.
Sure.
Do we have the ability to be flexible with the spending on a bid like this? Like, can we say, depending on what the cost is, because, I mean, due to COVID, in these unique circumstances, I mean, I don't know if there'd be allowed to be that flexibility or not.
Well, I don't even have a single bidder, so it's not a,
Well, I mean,
I don't have a bidder to be flexible with, I guess, is my response there. We can, in a situation of an emergency, the superintendent is authorized for emergency spending, but I don't think we're quite there at this point. Does that answer your question, sir?
well, kind of. I just meant language-wise on the bid itself. So, like, if anyone's going to bid on it, there's an understanding that if there's an increased cost to them, that we'd be able to meet that increased cost, vice versa. That's all.
that would be hard to budget, you know? that
It would be, yeah, it would be, but
It's an interesting question, but it almost defeats the bidding process, right? Because
Yeah.
somebody bids on it, and then they just double their number, and there you go.
well, they would have to, justify it, but.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure, we could prove our costs. It's certainly a way to consider if we continue to have a problem getting contractors to do this.
Matt, you had a question?
What is our, I guess, policy with, I know sometimes when I bid out a job, you get your 30 days, you hold your price for it, then after that, you're subject to change. I'm running into the same issues with materials, not being able to buy them potentially before price increase. But one thing we can do is we can release it, and when it comes in, it's well before the project date, but they can bill us as stored materials. Do we have any policy to be able to do that, as billed as stored materials?
Absolutely, and this particular bid was written in such a way that we were looking at phasing it. The first piece would be trying to get in over April vacation
Yeah.
and February vacation. So they could purchase everything in February, get it in-house, and they would give us a partial billing for material in hand.
Yeah.
They begin with hanging new equipment during those 2 vacations, but then the part where we have to shut down the alarm system completely before we bring up the next alarm system, that would happen. It would take longer than a week, and it would have to happen during a time when the building was unoccupied. The fire department won't let us open school without a working alarm. So that piece would have to be over the summer.
Right, well, and like I said, even if they didn't do the project to the summer, but they're, I'm concerned about their not wanting to bid it because they're saying, oh, the price might go up. Well, if we award it to them, they can still order it, they can still bill us. We can pay for the material, they're not installing it, they have to give us access and proof of material. But it's billed as stored material, they have it available, so it's not an issue of price increases on the material. They shouldn't be able to say, I can't guarantee the price because we released that. But the other end is the availability of mainly the panels and the chips in them. That's a big issue. But if we allow them to bill us as stored material, get the material here.
No, I agree with you. I don't think that the cost of material changing is great argument because they can buy it now on what today's price is and we pay them. I can't insist that they bid with that knowledge. They had that knowledge, they chose not to bid.
Okay. Just making sure that wasn't a reason not to.
Oh, absolutely, thank you.
Anybody else? Questions about the Chamberlain fire alarm?
Do we have a contingency plan? I mean, is there a plan contingency for, we're punting right now, as you put it. Is there a contingency as far as, we get water damage on that? We have the ability to repair it if need be right now, if that goes down, or?
Currently, we would have the ability to repair it. It would force us into a situation where we're doing an emergency repair like what we did at Donick over the last summer, but some of this money that's in the CIP line for replacing alarms would have to go to that emergency repair. We're looking at doing Chamberlain now and McClellan in the next budget cycle, but it feels like everything's kind of going to get pushed. As soon as we do one of the 2 schools, we would keep those spare parts to service the other school until such time as it got done.
Okay. Any other questions? Do we need, you don't need because there's no bid, so I guess we just move on. 5-year plan. Budget review. I jumped right over that. So has everybody had an opportunity to take a look at the building budget and the CIP budget? So what I would recommend is that does anyone have any specific questions or concerns right now? Go ahead, Matt.
Dave, your boom lift.
Sure.
So we've discussed this at length about the need for this and the benefits for the district. We wouldn't have to be renting or outsourcing to other companies, we can keep stuff in-house. This is a big price tag. Definitely a spot where we can save for next year on being over, but is this something that we can get this year before July? Or is it July we have to buy it by? July 1st. What do you think the chances are of being able to get this bid out, and availability of the boom lifts to get it on this year's budget?
So we updated the quote with the vendor about a month ago, and as of that time, this is a viable price, and we have a piece of equipment that we could source. Come July 1st, that might change. I can't, put a piece of equipment on hold, but as of the most recent data we have, this is still a good number, and this is still something that we can get now.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to put this forward to Finance Committee to put this, I guess, finalize our bid on this and put this out to, I guess, purchasing on this year's budget. Is that the right way to say it?
Do we have funds?
Yes, what I was going to mention at finance is that we have probably a $2 million surplus right now, if not more. So I was going to suggest to ask the board to possibly do some projects, maybe out of the cash CIP to relieve next year's budget. Or there are a few items that the principals have come forward with as to, sort of a wish list, but obviously the superintendent and myself would look at that to make sure it's viable. But to get your approval to utilize some of that surplus for some of these one-time projects.
In other
So
words,
yes.
could it be that you're looking for suggestions from finance and superintendent on what could be used in the CIP now to reduce the overtax cap? Would that be an option?
Yeah.
It could be the boat, it could be the vehicle, it could be
Yeah.
a bunch of other projects that are on the list, right?
So yes, yeah, reword it.
So you'd have to withdraw your motion.
Okay. Well, it's never seconded, so.
Correct. That's right. Point.
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in building, we can discuss doing this,
Yes.
right? But as far as the budget, this is last year's, or next year's budget, we haven't even talked about yet. Until it gets
Well, so,
approved with this year's money, then we can come back, right?
You do it before, we're
Okay.
saving. Nice.
No.
If we ever review it, so.
I'm confused here because
So,
one is, we want to pull it off, that particular item off next year's budget and purchase it. And you made the motion
so I'm gonna
to
withdraw.
recommend it to finance.
I'm gonna withdraw that motion
Okay,
and make a new motion to recommend to Finance Committee to take a look at our cash capital improvement program to discuss about what we might be able to purchase this year off of this list comparative to other needs that the district might have as well to use on this year's excess cash to reduce next year's budget.
okay, I like that.
Before we go any further.
We need a second on the
Well,
motion.
can someone just tell me where
Second
we're
for
at?
discussion.
What page and?
Before
paper?
discussion,
Under
we need
the
a
building
second.
tab.
Yeah, no,
The
I'm agreed
CIP
with the
tab.
second.
Under the building.
Thank you.
there.
So
Is-
just
do we
to
have a
clarify,
second?
the committee already.
Second for discussion, it's under CIP tab, is what we're looking at.
Under the CIP tab, it's
The
toward the
purple.
in the back.
So
In the
just to
back.
clarify, so that way everybody's aware of what's is being brought forward, it is very simple. It's, we have a potential surplus at the end of this
See the
year.
purple page.
And, yeah,
Not that one. Is that the one? No. That's special services.
Okay.
It's the second, it's the next one.
Two from the back,
Two from the back.
Two
So
from
one
the back.
more.
Oh, okay.
three from the back, I'm sorry.
Three from
Right in front of the
I
yellow
got
tab.
pink. not under grants,
It's
right?
the last green tab.
What color tab is it under?
Green.
Dark green.
See,
It's under the
right, yeah.
green tab? Okay,
That's big.
great, thank you.
So just to clarify exactly what you're saying is that we have a potential surplus at the end of this school year. As opposed to waiting for budget's approval and handing back the surplus, is the request that you guys are asking here is, the recommendation is that it's reviewed, what's in the cash CIP line that could be done now,
Right.
and that way it would offset what we're over the tax cap right now. We could just bring that budget in line, be tax cap compliant, and spend the money now on the cash CIP in the lines that need, or whatever the district is deeming
Okay,
appropriate.
so
That's all.
none of this has to do with that $700,000 you got in the fall?
No, nothing to do with those ones.
Okay, and has that been spent, has that been used, where is that? We're not gonna hand that over to the city, are we? Oh, good.
Six
So,
grant funds, right?
and Linda, maybe you could provide a little guidance. Would it be better to hear the financial update and then have finance make a recommendation to the full board that, let's say, up to a certain dollar amount could be looked at by facilities director, superintendent, business administrator, up to that amount from the CIP plan to offset, so that way you hear the actuals from finance. Finance would recommend up to a certain amount from perhaps that list, if that's what you're recommending, and then we could share what that plan would be. Could be the boom, could be other things, and we could report back what our plan is next month.
Do you want to withdraw your motion in a second?
Well, my concern is some of these things, like, could potentially have a lead time, so I don't want to just push off too long. If we could get it through finance tonight to get to the full board, to get.
Well, if they set the cap, if you set the cap at finance, then we can do that. So if there's a cap that's set through finance, then we can just do it as long as
We've
we're
got
under
the
that
finance
cap.
meeting coming up.
Right, so you're almost saying if we said a cap of, let's say, $250,000, I'm just throwing a number out, then after the board approves it next week, they can just move forward and say, this is what we were able to do with the $250,000, and by the way, that takes it off that line, and here's our updated budget.
Right.
A simplified way of really, from what you guys would have to do. So that would go, that'd be a recommendation from finance, correct?
Yes, correct.
From a strong recommendation of this committee, asking for it to go to there.
Yes.
So we can still put this recommendation forward if you want.
Yeah, finance can kill it.
Yeah.
Just keep it going.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Could you repeat the motion for me, please, now that I found the right page?
Okay. I'd like to put through the discussion in finance to you try to discuss about what we could get this year off the cash capital improvement program. Purchase this year to take it off of next year's budget. I think I said it better the first time.
Get the gist.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you. Any other discussion we want to have tonight about the budget for building?
Just based off of Mr. Toddy's face, no, you did not get your boom tonight.
We're doing our own tree work soon.
I would strongly recommend everybody take some time, go through the budget, the specifics of both the cash CIP and the building budget, and have a list of recommendations for any possible cuts for the next building committee meeting in March. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, 5-year plan. So again, I guess we're doing the same, we're asking for everyone on the building committee to make a list of 3 recommendations of topics that we would like to forward to the 5-year plan for the building committee, needs of the building committee. you wanna take a minute and,
Would you like to know what was mentioned at the 5-year
sure.
term? So the items that I had marked as under building would have been, one was about ESSER funds on air handlers, purification, the schedule, and is there a 5-year projection on equipment and maintenance? Which I already think we know the answer to that. The JVC, is it a school or no school or renovation? Any major equipment such as an ROI schedule for anything that's out there to purchase. I had athletic fields needs study. And then ongoing maintenance projections, is there anything that could be done to lessen the burden in the future?
There was one more, it was
Yeah.
potentially looking at a facilities management software that would allow Mr. Toddy and his team to know those air filters were 1 year old and they need to be replaced tomorrow. So that was the other one.
Had under finance. I'd like to clarify that.
Would you repeat that?
Yeah, it was, right now, basically, Mr. Toddy and his staff, when they go out and they do projects, they have to keep their own notes as to, like, we changed the air filtration here, and in 6 months, they have to change the air filters here. There's software that exists now for facilities management when they do a project that says, we change these filters, and it sets a reminder to crews and it creates a work order. So when I were to come in and punch in that morning, it would say, Kyle, filters in this room, right? And then it would get updated for another 6 months. So that way, God forbid anyone gets hit by a bus in Mr. Toddy's department, there's a running record of all of our jobs, projects, the materials, the equipment. And it will really just be more of an efficiency situation, more efficient situation for the department.
So you're looking for us to give you like our top 3?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
So, sports facility improvements would be one of mine. The new building exploration with the goal to eliminate modulars would be my second. My third would be the facility management software.
Yeah. And who's next? Who wants to go next? Sandy? You got 3?
What's your?
For recommendations for building? Dave?
Basically the same things, you know, modulars, how to, you know, what's gonna take care of them. Athletic facilities, I know at one 5-year committee, we talked about the whole complex versus, you know, we've heard discussion of the weight room and, you know, do we break it down between just, you know, what we currently have to improve or the whole complex type of setup. The JVC and the facility management software, so that tracker stuff.
Yeah.
And kind of broke a record of all the same things. One thing I guess I kind of like to see is maybe looking at the lower field over here at the end of the school, lights and scoreboards potential. It could open us up for middle school to be able to do games over there. Same time high school's up on the big field. I know middle school has had to cut games short because they're fighting darkness and they got girls playing before boys. Just stuff like that to open up options for our districts. It's a lot more feasible to do it over here maybe than over the middle school. And one of my big things is a couple of months ago, Dave gave us a really good presentation on facilities that, like the weight room, might need upgraded. And we started talking about the track, that the track itself might need to be replaced, but then we started discussing about the whole, everything up there, new lights and stuff. My problem is certain things are out of sight, out of mind. We got caught up on the track because we all see that. But I think it'd be good if he was able to give us a tour, maybe of some of these vital areas, so we can see with our own eyes how dire the weight room is, or other things. I think it'd be good for us to truly see it, instead of only seeing the track and thinking that's gonna get replaced and forgetting about other things. So,
Great. You have any? No?
It's all been discussed.
Matt?
No.
So, in addition to what you guys all said, I think they're all great ideas. I'd like us to be thinking about music facilities because, I mean, that is a huge class that services a huge amount of students at Spalding. And, you know, they were pushed into the auditorium because the floor had a bubble that they couldn't be safe in the room. So I'd like us to really think long and hard about an update of our music facilities. And also the modules have to go.
That kind of echoes what I was saying, like, if we could get out there and just see the things between the music facility.
Okay.
And you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
all of the facilities.
Yeah, let's
Perfect.
see what is important to us, because, you know, you think something different than what I think, but if we're all seeing it as a group and be like, oh
Sure.
yeah, look at that, you know?
Yep.
This is why people are saying that.
So Matt, are you taking notes for these to?
Took my notes, thank you.
Cool. Anybody else have anything else under the 5-year plan? No? Any public comment?
Jerry, you want to say anything? I think I said all I need.
Any other? Paul's not here, so no other. Any non-public?
We do have a brief non-public, so I'd ask the board to make a motion to go into non-public. Legal
I
matter.
think we have to read the RSA or whatever. I'll make a motion to go into, enter into non-public under RSA 91A 3:, whatever.
You're doing so good.
That's pretty official.
Should you have a roll call?
I'd like to make that motion to seal the minutes of non-public indefinitely.
Indefinitely. Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Now number 9.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.